Welcome to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast, where we interview the best and the brightest business and real estate leaders. Our mission is to inspire and help 1,000 entrepreneurs to start and succeed in real estate and entrepreneurship. We will give you the exact playbook to succeed in your business through the experience of those who blaze the path. We're bringing the what's working today directly to you. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast. I have the coolest guest today for you. His name is Brent Bowers. He's the land shark. Brent has an extensive history in buying land, flipping land, cash flowing land, mobile homes. He's got the coolest strategy to create cash flow and to create big checks. Pretty easy compared to houses, I think he'll tell us today. And he's an Army veteran. We'll not hold that against him, but we do thank him for his service. Brent, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Good to see you, Adam. Yeah, I had a great time with the Marines when I was out in RC South, Afghanistan. I was out there. Those guys were CrossFitting like crazy, doing yoga. They're like, well, we do yoga because the NFL does yoga. So the Marines actually turned me on to yoga of all people, which I don't do much yoga, but anyhow, those dudes were fit. I swear they ate like protein for breakfast, protein for lunch, protein for dinner.
Yeah, we take great pride in being a Marine, and the problem is the only thing good about being a Marine is just saying that you're a Marine. The rest of it's miserable.
Oh, God bless them. Well, heck, man, I'm happy to be sitting here with you today.
Yeah, super, super cool to have you. I think I saw you came and talked to Dave Perez guys one time. I think I got to see a little bit about your business, but land is hot right now, man. Talk to us about your background. So you leave the Army at some point and you get into real estate. How do you become the land shark?
I didn't get into land to get rich. I really just got into land to get out of the military. I was in it for 8.5 years. And I was on the back-to-back deployment schedule. I would be home for a year, gone for a year. Then they changed it to 9-month deployments. And I was just always gone and listening to podcasts just like this to try and find answers. And I did. I heard a guy talking about vacant raw land. I was like, okay, I have rental properties. I can't live off of those pieces of junk. If I tried, I had 7 doors at the time. And if I quit my job, I probably would have lost all the rentals because something was always breaking, evictions were happening. But this guy's on here talking about vacant land investing. And I grew up in Okeechobee, Florida, by the way, not too far from Tampa. And there was land everywhere. And I always thought that you had to be rich to buy land and hold it and wait. I didn't have time to wait. I needed to make money like right away. And this guy's talking about flipping land and doubling his money overnight. So I immediately took action and started, trying what I knew out and mailing the tax delinquent list and buying like inefficient, unbuildable, landlocked land and flipping it and like not just doubling my money, but like 10xing my money. And I was addicted. So eventually I was able to build a passive income around it and get out of the military because I was making like 12 grand a month. And my Army salary is like $4,000 a month. They don't pay us as much as the Marines make. But
that's incredible. Like, okay. So, people listen to podcasts all the time and they hear, our buddy Brandon Turner talk about buying your first rental property. And your experience was those rental properties don't make you as much cash flow as you might think. So can you give us maybe a comparison of, rentals versus land and how it all works?
Yeah, heck yeah. So my first rental I bought was in 2007 for 123 grand. 2007, they pretty much give you a loan if you could make the mirror fog up. So I did that. I passed that test, got the loan, $123,000 house, took out a line of credit on it right after from SunTrust to fix that house up a little bit, then rented it out for $950 a month. I thought I was hot stuff, and my mortgage was $750. So I'm making $200 a month, right? Well, there's things called like capital expenditures, like roofs leak and septic systems go out and tenant evictions happen. And then I rented it out the next time for $1,000 a month. And this person didn't have the best credit. So they ended up trashing my house, and the lady had a boyfriend that busted my windows out. Long story short, like, I had that house until 2019. I sold it for the exact price I paid for it. And it was great for, depreciation or a tax strategy. But then you get hit with a recapture when you sell that property. So that's a whole nother conversation there. But, that was my first house deal. My first land deal was several years later in 2016. I bought it for $285. And I remember being scared to death to spend this $285, which is stupid. I was a brand new second lieutenant. I'd already had like 4 years time of service as enlisted, and I was broke. I didn't have the $285. I went and looked at the land. I didn't know what the heck I was getting into. I just knew it wasn't buildable because the city had only one ingress, one egress. So in Colorado, they didn't want the firefighters to get pinned down. So it was more speculation for people buying that land. Well, I called a real estate agent, and I didn't know what it was worth. She told me what she thought it was worth, about $10K. And sure enough, she ended up buying it from me for $5K. So I made like $4,700 in like 6 days in my land business. But from 2007 to 2019, I lost money on this house. So there's my compare and contrast on a $123,000 investment compared to a $285 investment.
That's crazy. Okay, cool. So like, if you buy a house, you have the structure, you have maintenance and repairs, you have capital expenditure, you have to pay your mortgage, you have to pay property management. There's a lot that can go into a rental property that can be problematic. But what about if I buy a piece of land and obviously I can flip it like you did? So you paid $285, sold it for $5,000, you make $4,700. I know you also cash flow these things. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, that's what I really love with these things. It's like having a rental property that nothing ever breaks on. And the only time these buyers ever call is if they want to make an extra payment, or they want to change out their ACH payment with a different bank account number, or they're behind. And we need to talk about like a loan modification, or I take the land back, which happens, by the way. It happens a lot. But the cash flow from these, my second land deal was $500. So now I'm getting really risky. My second was about a week later. I took that money that I had and I bought one for $500 from this lady. And this was almost 4 acres next to Fort Carson, Colorado, in the mountains. And this one was landlocked. I couldn't get to it legally. I had to cut through state land, which I did. I took photos, and that's all I needed. Beautiful land, by the way. I wish I would have never sold it. But I put it on Craigslist for $500 down. I wanted to get my money back out of the deal, and $400 a month. And I guess I had this thing for $5,000. So I listed that one for $5,000 as well. Kid you not, the next day, someone brought me $500 to my house, and we signed what's called a land contract for $400 a month. And this guy would sometimes pay me double payments in a month. And I wasn't even charging him interest. Like I was like, I couldn't even imagine charging interest because I was making so much money on these. That's the one that changed my life, because that was paying my truck payment, $400 a month. And now I have passive income. And I told my wife, Emily, I was like, if we do this 10 more times, I'm out of the military. We are now going to be financially free, because that will cover our expenses. And I sure enough did. It took me almost 18 months, about a year and a half, to do that, to be at about $6,000 or $7,000 a month. And then when I got out of the military, I was at about $12,000 a month net. And then that first month I got out, I flipped like a $55,000 net profit land deal. And that was almost like God saying, yeah, you made the right decision. And I haven't looked back since.
I gotta know though, why, like, I get why, if somebody's listening to this, they're like, oh, that sounds interesting. Those numbers sound good. But why would somebody buy land on terms? Like, what's the use case for that? You know, it's like a house. It makes sense. They're going to live in it or whatever. But like, what are they doing with the land, and how do you find a buyer for it?
Yeah, that guy that bought it for me off of Craigslist, what he was going to do with it was really just hunt on it. I mean, this guy's got 4.5 acres surrounded by state land. So that was like his hunting paradise. Then I was selling, it's funny, I sold some land to some truck drivers. Some of it's buildable. I sold 7.5 acres just south of Fort Carson to a Latino couple that they didn't speak a lick of English, but they wanted to put their money into a piece of land. They just paid me off. It's been about 7 years now. Just paid me off on that land. I bought like the last vacant lot in a mobile home park. That one I bought for a couple $100 because the corporation that owned it went out of business. I had to restart the corporation, pay off a couple $1,000s to the city for mowing cost. And I ended up selling it for $35,000 on seller financing. They put a brand new double wide mobile home on it. So a lot of this land I sell, it's crazy. People will, build on it eventually, or they'll recreate on it, camp on it, shoot guns on it, start their own meth lab, you name it.
Well, hopefully not the latter, but yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I think that's like, even with real estate, when you talk about going to find an off-market house, and most people their mind goes to, why would anybody sell their house for that cheap to you? And it's like, don't try to assume why people would do it. You just really never know. There's a lot of people have reasons, and there's no way for you to know all of them. The same with land, plenty of reasons why you would buy land. And probably my assumption is every time, you do this, you find a new use case on why somebody wants to buy it.
That's so true. Yeah. And people just want to own a piece of America. I have a lake house in Lake Placid, Florida. And I keep telling my wife, Emily, I was like, I want to buy the land across the street so no one ever builds, because it's really cool, watching the sunset and seeing the whooping cranes. And we got bobcats and panthers coming through there and deer. And I look up to see who owns it. And these people are in Taiwan. Like, that's their mailing address. It's like, how do they get a tax bill in Taiwan? They just want to own a piece of America.
Yeah, we actually, our company, Blackjack, we actually own a piece of land behind some guy's house. Probably, I don't know, we bought it years ago. I don't know why we have it or why we're sitting on it, but the guy that lives behind it, I'm sure, has just been using it like his own. And he just sent us an email like 2 days ago and said, "Can you guys sell this to me?"
Yeah, man. Heck yeah, we'll sell it. That's funny you say that. Like I felt like 2 out of 10 of my land deals, the neighbor buys it. Or sometimes it's 3 houses down. Like, we had some land in Georgia we just sold, and it was listed for like 3.5 months. And I have a checklist. Like, we do things like we put signs out. We list it with a realtor. We put it on Craigslist and Facebook. We send neighbor letters. Well, only thing that got done was the realtor. So sometimes we break our own rules. It happens all the time. And I'm a visionary. I need to integrate.
You need some detail people.
Yes, I need a detail oriented. And she was with me for a while, about 6 or 7 years, and she's now building her own company. But anyhow, the neighbor bought it. Like, I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Because I'm signing the paperwork and I see it's the same street. And I was like, why didn't we send neighbor letters?
Oh, man. Well, that's cool. All right. Well, I think people will naturally want to know, like, okay, I want to get a piece of land and see if I can flip it. If somebody's thinking that right now, which I'm sure if you're listening to Brent, who's the land shark and creating cash flow and checks, how do you find land? Do you go pull a list of land? Where do you pull lists from? Do you market to it with direct mail? Are you calling these people? Like, give us some of the goods on the process here.
Let me start from square one. So when I started, I started with the county held tax lien list. Basically, that's just like, I should say tax delinquent list. This was land the county sent me that no one had purchased the back taxes on. So they thought I was going to do that. I didn't have the money to do that. I mailed these people, but that list is super small. It's like only 687 people. So I found there's easier ways to do this. Then I started buying like vacant land or land in the middle of nowhere that no one really wanted that I can get for like super cheap. I bought like 123 parcels in Apache, Arizona from one guy for $300, $391 a piece. And we sold them all for about $4,400 a piece. A lot of them are on payments still, which is nice, but there's way easier ways to do land than that. And that was kind of an arduous process selling all that. I'd rather buy something that someone wants and fill a demand than go out and create a demand. So now we've changed the strategy completely where we go and see where land is in demand. Where is land selling? How much is it selling for? how much for the square foot, how much by the acre. We price it out. And once we price it out, we go and pull a list of landowners in that specific area. And then we blast them out we call LOLs, or land offer letters, within an exact offer amount. And you get that in the mail, Adam. You're like, all right, well, I guess I'll sell my quarter acre parcel of land that I can't access for, 59,000 or 5,900, whatever. And our numbers are never perfect, by the way. We try, but once they sign it and send it back, we do our due diligence. And if it's a deal, we buy it. A lot of times we have to renegotiate it. Then I'll reach out to a land sales specialist real estate agent to make sure I'm right as well on my numbers. And then we'll either we'll buy it and list it, or we'll sometimes market it while we're buying it. So a lot of times we had the buyer lined up before we take ownership of the land. But yeah, all direct mail.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's interesting. A lot of direct to seller house buyers also having great success sending the checks with general offer on them. We don't do that personally in our business. We found that just became more of a headache for us. It's like based off of the whatever the system says the after repair value is, and maybe it's like 70% of that. Then these people call and say, "We'll take your offer," and we look at it. We're like, "There's not even a house on it." Like, wait a minute. So we just got we got too much junk. I felt like it's probably just not worth it for us, but we do something a little different anyways. But yeah, a lot of people are having success even in the house side with like checks, like, "Hey, this is what we can pay. This is what we can pay for your property." And then, that generates the phone call, which is what your goal is with the direct mail. So that's pretty incredible. Where do people, like, how can people learn about doing land? Like, they want to work with you, or?
Yeah. Well, there's free ways to learn. I put a YouTube video out once a week, and then I put TikTok and Instagram. You can usually find me Brent L, and the L stands for land. Yes, Brent L Bowers, Brent L Bowers 1 sometimes on some of my socials. But I'm putting out videos all the time teaching what I'm doing. I take a few people a month. We could keep it rather small, the coaching in the community. I do coach people one-on-one in the community, but again, I can only take on a few people a month. And I'm always excited to work with people that want to take the action. I mean, this is not all roses and sunshine. There is some work to be done, but you can make piles of cash doing it. I mean, I'm making a lot more than I was in the military, and I'm working about 1/10 as hard. So,
yeah, well, I think that's an important distinction, right? Like, Brent wants to work with people who want to do the work, not people who, none of this is a get rich quick scheme. It's,
no.
That's for any program, Brent's, or any program where you're going to go learn a skill that can make you a lot of money. Well, number one, you have to commit to learning this skill. But number two, you have to commit to doing the work and developing this skill. So if you're unwilling to do that, then, nothing's probably going to help you. If you're willing to do that, if you're serious and not just interested, especially if you're serious in land, you should reach out to Brent, who's world class at land. There's nobody better that I know, at least. I think that's really cool. Okay, cool. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk, because you are the land guy, and what do you do for fun?
Oh man. So I revolve work around play. And I just got to interview a friend of mine, Cody. He's a land shark, and he does the same thing. Every time I talk to him, he's coming off of a elk hunt or a duck hunt or a trip or lifestyle freedom. That's why we got into this business. I didn't get into it to get rich. Honestly, I needed a cheap way to invest in real estate so I can make $5,000 a month. That's all I wanted. I had low aspirations when I started. But what do I do for fun? Every other week, I'm racing my four-wheeler somewhere around the state of Florida. We do FTR racing. We have a lake house. We have a boat. I mean, every week I wear my wife out. She's a total introvert, and she'd like to sit at home all the time. But we're always in the camper or something. Like my oldest, my two oldest are actually all three of my kids want to race now. So yeah, we have a blast. I go out and do an elk hunt in September.
How old are your kids?
I have a 5, a 7, and a 9-year-old.
Oh, dude, that's like the best, man. I have a 7 and 12, and these are the best ages.
They are an absolute blast. Yeah, I love hunting. We're actually setting up you might like this, Adam. We're setting up a land mastermind. I think it's going to be in May or June. I don't know exactly when, but we're going to go in a helicopter. We're going to rent a helicopter. Well, a helicopter pilot's going to take us up and give us a bunch of AR-15s, 4 of us at a time, and we're going to shoot hogs from the air with machine guns. Dude. So like hey, I don't kill anything I don't eat. So yeah, I'm not just going to go out there and do animals.
Of course, they'll have tags. It's all legal. Everybody relax.
Oh yeah, it'll be legal.
Yeah. That's super cool. Okay, so you do have some fun. You're not just a work junkie. I've been accused of being a work junkie. I just love what I do, like you. So, I just like real estate, man. I have a lot of fun doing it, and I have a lot of fun with the people doing it. Yeah. It's like there's so many cool people in our industry. You know what I mean? Like these are our people, crazy people who like to build something and do something cool. So, well, that's
seasons of life. There's seasons of life. There's sometimes I'm a little out of balance. Sometimes, like I worked like crazy last week because I had a 3-day work week. So I probably worked from 9 to 6 each day. And that's not my usual day. But in the military, shoot, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. was nothing. They owned us. I don't know if I could pull those hours anymore, but I did that for a while. I got out of the military and I was still getting up at 4 a.m. And if I didn't work until at least 4 or 5 p.m. every day, I felt bad. There was something wrong.
What's wrong with me? I just need to grind. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's such a myth.
Well, man, what you're doing is super cool. I think it's your land shark community is like a really awesome group of folks. These folks are, they're following in your footsteps, and you guys are doing a good job with those people. So I commend you for that. I think that's awesome. Maybe I need to come out and race some 4-wheelers with you guys. That sounds like a lot of fun. You can't be that.
Let's go. We'll be in Palatka this coming weekend. Not this one, right? 3 days from now. What is it? 2 days, but the following one, GNCC. It's about a 3-hour race. A lot of mud and all kinds of cool stuff. But yeah, it's an absolute blast. I came in 4th on the last one. I can't even believe my goal is to finish the race. I'm not trying to win the race.
That's super cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. Well, I think if you guys want to get deep into land, you're listening to this, you're like, oh man, that sounds awesome. I can create cash flow without having to deal with toilets and tenants and houses. You need to reach out to Brent and the Land Sharks. He's all over YouTube. He's all over Instagram, social media. You guys just look up Brent and Land Sharks. You will find him all over. If you're looking for somebody to teach you land, he is the guy. He's the guy. There's nobody else. He's the guy. So reach out to Brent. Brent, man, thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me today. Every time I hear you talk, I'm like, I want to go do land. I need to be a land shark.
Yeah, it is addicting. That's for sure. I think the more successful you become, the more opportunities come your way. Sometimes you got to just have your blinders on.
Yeah.
So I've gotten into some other things, and it's like, okay, I need to go back to what makes me the money, and that's the land.
Yeah. Oh, my Lindsay, my COO, sits across from me in our office, and I'm like, she'll come in here after this podcast probably, and I'll be like, hey, should we be looking at land? And she'll be beating me up after I say that, I'm sure. Hey, we need to call Brent and see if we need to become land sharks.
There you go.
Cool, man. Really appreciate you. Genuinely got a great reputation in the industry. Awesome, dude. I'm grateful that you spent some time with us today.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks for listening. And oh, by the way, if you thought Brent was awesome, which he was, do me a favor. Go and leave a 5-star review so that more people can find our podcast. If you didn't think it was 5 stars, that's fine. Don't leave a review. Leave a review on Brent's page, not mine. I'm kidding. We'll take any feedback we can get. We're just trying to grow and help more people. So please leave us a 5-star review.